In the shadows of the craggy peaks, the mountain path lay cloaked in mist. Ethan trudged upward, his hiking boots crunching against loose gravel. He was a simple man, seeking solitude among the wild beauty of the wilderness, where nature's whispers could drown out the noise of the world. This time, however, his journey brought something far more extraordinary than tranquility. As he rounded a bend, a figure slumped against a boulder came into view. At first glance, Ethan thought it was a woman, her frame slender and draped in an iridescent cloak that shimmered faintly even in the dim light. But as he stepped closer, he realized she wasn't entirely human. Her skin, a pale shade of lavender, was etched with intricate markings that pulsed faintly. Her hair, if it could be called that, floated weightlessly, strands glowing softly as if alive. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing pupils like molten silver, and she winced as she tried to move. "Hey, are you okay?" Ethan asked, kneeling beside her. The woman's gaze snapped to his, and for a moment, Ethan felt as though he'd been seen through to his very core. She opened her mouth, but the words that spilled forth were incomprehensible, her language melodic and alien. Ethan hesitated, then held up his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." She blinked, her silver eyes narrowing. After a moment, she reached toward him, her fingers trembling. Ethan noticed a gash on her arm, oozing a luminous blue fluid. She was injured and badly. "You need help," he said softly. Without waiting for her consent, he shrugged off his pack and retrieved his first aid kit. "This might sting, but it'll stop the bleeding." She flinched at the antiseptic's touch, but didn't resist. As Ethan worked, he couldn't help but marvel at the strange texture of her skin, warm, yet unnaturally smooth. Whoever she wasn't from around here. When he finished, she studied the bandage, then gave a small nod of acknowledgement. "Thank you," she said, her voice halting but understandable now, as though the words had been plucked from his own thoughts. Ethan's eyes widened. "You can understand me?" "Learning," she replied, her speech still stilted. "My name is Kaelara." "I'm Ethan," he said. "What happened to you?" Kaelara's expression darkened. "Ambushed. Enemies, hunters. I fled. Crashed here." She gestured vaguely toward the sky. Ethan followed her gaze, his mind reeling. "You're not from Earth, are you?" Kaelara shook her head. "From Kaelara. Far." She winced, clutching her side. "They will come. Must move." "Wait, who will come?" Ethan asked, but Kaelara's silver eyes darted to the horizon. A low hum vibrated through the air, growing steadily louder. "Them," she said, her voice steely. Ethan barely had time to register the sleek, black craft slicing through the mist before it fired a beam of energy that scorched the ground nearby. Instinct kicked in, and he grabbed Kaelara, pulling her to her feet. "We have to go." Together, they fled deeper into the mountains, the alien ship's pursuit relentless. Kaelara moved with surprising agility despite her injuries, guiding Ethan through hidden paths and narrow crevices as if she'd known the terrain for years. Each time the craft fired, she seemed to anticipate its trajectory, steering them to safety with uncanny precision. Finally, they found shelter in a cavern concealed behind a waterfall. Panting, Ethan leaned against the damp rock wall. "What do they want?" he asked. Kaelara's gaze was distant. "Me. I am warrior. Protector. They seek power I guard." She touched the pendant around her neck, a crystalline shard that glowed faintly. "If they take it, many will suffer." Ethan stared at the pendant. "Why not destroy it?" Kaelara shook her head. "Too much. Power would consume all." He nodded, though his understanding was limited. "So what do we do?" Kaelara's silver eyes softened. "You helped me. I will not let them harm you. But it is dangerous to stay." Before Ethan could respond, the hum returned, louder this time. The cave shook as the enemy ship hovered just outside, its weapons charging. Kaelara's expression hardened, and she rose to her feet. "Stay here," she commanded, stepping toward the cave's entrance. "Wait." Ethan grabbed her arm. "You can't fight them alone." She turned to him, her expression resolute. "I must. It is my duty." Before he could argue further, Kaelara stepped into the open. Ethan watched in awe as her iridescent cloak unfurled, transforming into a set of sleek, organic armor that seemed to pulse with life. She raised her hands, and the air around her crackled with energy. The enemy ship fired, but Kaelara deflected the beam with a shield of light. With a wave of her hand, she launched a counterattack, a surge of energy striking the craft and forcing it to retreat. But the ship wasn't her only adversary. Figures emerged from the shadows, humanoid but clearly alien, their weapons trained on Kaelara. She moved with grace and precision, each motion a blend of combat and dance. Ethan had never seen anything like it. Despite her injuries, Kaelara fought with unyielding determination, her movements fluid and deadly. One of the aliens broke through her defenses, aiming its weapon at her exposed side. Without thinking, Ethan grabbed a rock and hurled it at the attacker, throwing off its aim. Kaelara seized the opportunity, dispatching the alien with a swift strike. She glanced back at Ethan, a flicker of gratitude in her eyes. "You brave. But dangerous." Ethan grinned despite himself. "Guess I'm not great at staying put." The battle raged on, but Kaelara's strength began to wane. Seeing her falter, Ethan rushed to her side, using whatever he could find, rocks, sticks, his own fists, to help fend off their attackers. Together, they managed to drive the aliens back, but the effort left Kaelara visibly drained. As the enemy ship retreated, Ethan helped her back into the cave. She collapsed against the wall, her breathing ragged. "You didn't have to help me," she said quietly. "But you did." Ethan shrugged. "Couldn't just leave you out there." Kaelara managed a faint smile. "You are rare. Kind. Earth worthy of protection." Ethan's brow furrowed. "What happens now? Are they going to come back?" Kaelara's expression grew somber. "They will not stop. But I will leave." "Lead them away." Ethan's chest tightened. "You can't fight them alone. Not forever." Kaelara reached out, her fingers brushing his. "I must try. It is my burden. But your help gave me hope." As dawn broke, Kaelara rose, her strength seemingly restored. She turned to Ethan, her silver eyes shimmering. "Thank you," she said. "For everything." Before he could respond, her cloak enveloped her, transforming into a radiant cocoon. With a burst of light, she ascended into the sky, leaving Ethan alone in the quiet of the mountains. For days, he replayed their encounter in his mind, marveling at the courage and sacrifice of the alien warrior. Though Kaelara was gone, Ethan felt her presence in the whispers of the wind and the glow of the stars, a reminder that even in the vastness of the universe, acts of kindness could bridge worlds.